Today we're at one of the backfields here at the OSU Student Farm, and joining me is Shelby Mendoza, who is a PhD student with the Horticulture and Landscape Architecture Department. And Shelby, let's talk a little bit. This is part of your project.
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing here?
So originally this acre was covered in trees and concrete. So in January we started clearing out the field in order to establish a certified naturally grown plot. So it's an acre plot, and we hope to get it certified through the CNG program in the next year.
Okay, so yes, it was previously the swine farm. We had wash racks and things like that, so
Yeah.
a lot of debris. But let's talk a little bit about what CNG is first of all.
So it is an alternative certification for growers, usually small growers, under 5 acres, that want to have some kind of certification, but for whatever reason, USDA's National Organic Program is kind of out of reach for them. So it's a cheaper program. Right now, I think the annual fees are $250 a year. The paperwork requirement is less than would be with the USDA program, and then it's actually a peer-reviewed system, so you don't have a government employee coming out to inspect your field. You have growers that are in your area that know the challenges you're dealing with.
Okay, and so national program, right, or international?
U.S. and Canada.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So how many farms are currently involved in this?
There's 600 in the U.S. and in Canada.
Okay, but fairly new to Oklahoma, which is part
Right.
of why you're doing this, to see how well it does here in Oklahoma,
Correct.
right?
So we currently have 3 that are certified in Oklahoma.
Okay, all right. So let's talk a little bit about, some of the differences between conventional production versus CNG production. And obviously, I have recognized this soil is so important. So really the last year you've been focused on getting that soil prepped to plant a crop, right?
Right.
What did it look like when you started?
So we did an initial soil test in March this year, and our average nitrogen across the field was only 5 pounds per acre. It's very low, but our potassium and phosphorus were really high. We did do an initial spreading of cow manure just to kind of give it enough nitrogen for our cover crops this summer to actually grow. So then we did 15 loads of cow manure across the field, and then came back in June to plant our summer cover crop of sorghum Sudan grass and sun hemp.
Okay, and we still see some remnants of that.
Correct.
But you did terminate that. How did you go about terminating that?
So I got to drive the tractor and flail mow, and parts of the field were actually over 7 foot tall. Okay. So the plants really did grow quickly and tall over 65 days, and then came through with the flail mower on the tractor and just cut it down to as close to the ground as we could get without disturbing the soil.
Okay, and you got a little regrowth from that, but that's not a big deal because our cooler temperatures are going to finish
kill
those
it
off.
soon. Yep.
Right, but basically a lot of biomass that you have now allowed to integrate down into that soil profile, right?
Right.
And so let's talk about why maybe you chose sun hemp specifically, and then also let's then talk about cool season cover crops.
Okay, so sun hemp is a legume, so we did inoculate it with, it's the peanut and cowpea inoculant. Sun hemp is also listed on that, and it actually fixed 150 pounds of nitrogen for our acre.
Wow.
So we're up to over 200 pounds per acre now, where we started with 5 earlier this year.
And you did test after the manure too, so
We did.
you know that is a result of,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's still, the manure I think knocked us up to 62 pounds per acre, and now we're sitting at about 211 pounds per acre.
Wow, okay.
But so sun hemp is a legume, and it is a tropical legume at that. So it's able to take our heat in the summer and kind of withstand some drought conditions, but then also sun hemp grows tall fast.
Okay.
So one of the problems we were going to have on this specific site is Johnson grass. So we wanted to kind of compete. We wanted our cover crops to compete with that Johnson grass, and it really did a good job of that. That hasn't been the weed that we've seen popping back up. We've seen others, but both the sorghum Sudan grass and the sun hemp were 6 to 7 feet tall.
Okay. So one of the things is with CNG is you can't use herbicides and things like that to come in and get rid of the Bermuda grass and the Johnson grass. So you're looking at trying to shade it out or create a competition for it, basically.
Right. So shading out was the big goal there, and then you can use products with CNG, but they have to be OMRI listed.
Okay.
And there's just not a lot of great options for herbicides that actually take care of Johnson grass or Bermuda grass on the list.
So you're probably still seeing a little Bermuda grass and maybe some Johnson grass that'll come back, but hopefully over time you're going to see less and less of that.
Right.
So let's talk. You've got your winter cover already planted.
Yes.
So what are we doing this winter?
We've got crimson clover, which was inoculated again to try to get that extra nitrogen boost, and then we've got hardy winter wheat. Those are our two. So we wanted to mix a grass and a legume. Okay.
Getting the biomass and then also that nitrogen fixing.
Correct.
So will you again terminate this in the springtime?
We will. Our goal right now, it's looking like planting our actual crop in the beginning of March. So we'll probably terminate it in February.
Okay. All right.
And get beds prepped.
So one of the things I think a lot of times people think, if we're not using a synthetic fertilizer for nitrogen, which is kind of the most prominent need of a plant, why not just keep reapplying manure, right? So, why are you shifting now to cover crops, basically?
Yeah, so our potassium and phosphorus were already high, and when you introduce manure, you're introducing those as well, and so we did see an uptake in that after applying our cow manure, which isn't, really what we wanted, but we needed nitrogen, so that was the easiest way to get it. Ultimately, continuous manure applications just aren't sustainable because it's going to increase other nutrient levels that we don't need.
Right.
And it's not actually available for our plants either, and it can lead to nutrient runoff eventually too.
Okay. So it might be that, after a period of time, you do use some more manure at some point, but you're going to be watching those phosphorus potassium levels a little bit, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Shelby, thank you so much for sharing this with us, and we look forward to following up next year.
Thanks for coming.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.